Dear fathers, brothers, friends, in the 1970s, I was a young Irish religious on internship in the United States of America. I was a vocation director. We didn't have priest vocation directors, so brothers had to do. For some reason, we were in Orange. It was a small house with a small community of novices, no humanists. For some reason, the superiors were away on this day, about 50 years ago. So they weren't around, just some religious on internship and the novices. And we realized that there was no king's celebration. Oh, horrible, horrible, most horrible. So we decided to do something for the novices out of love for them. One of us religious could tell jokes, so he did. There were no videos then. They didn't even exist. So it had to be simple. Another could play the guitar, sing some songs. And what could I do? Maybe I could write a poem. I'm not a poet, but I have written 4 poems in my life. I think you need to write more than 4 to qualify as a poet. The first one was in Dublin, in Ireland, at the beginning of my novitiate, about how hard it was. The second one during Humanities in Salamanca, Spain. That one was in Spanish, about how tough it was. The third one in the United States during internship, about the fear of commitment that I experienced in those wrestling with their vocation in the culture, way back in the 70s. They were all written to express what I felt. But this fourth one was written for the sake of others, the novices. In the novitiate of the Legionaries of Christ in Orange, Connecticut, 50 years ago, to the very day, this very day, on the solemnity of the Epiphany, and it was about the Magi. The first stanza of the poem, The Magi, goes like this. I saw a new star in the sky one night. I knew it was a strange sight. It seemed so far. Then there was a second stanza. But no matter how hard I try to recall it, it remains hidden from me. It was for the sake of those novices then in Orange, in the early 70s. It is not for now. I remember vaguely that it was about the joy of finding a friend who had the same experience of seeing the star and knowing what it meant. The only line I can recall from that second stanza is the last one. We crossed the sand. The third stanza of the poem, The Magi, is this. We brought a new friend, for he knew full well the joy that made our hearts swell. We reached the end. And then there is a fourth stanza. Until then, I have thought of the Magi, if I ever thought of them at all, as a few nameless, unknown characters in a shadowy, incomplete tale, one that reads almost like a legend, not something I could write a poem about. In order to be able to write the poem, I knew I had to try to put myself into their shoes, into their mind and heart, across years, across decades, across centuries, across millennia. Put myself into the mind and heart of those mysterious wise men. And then it was given to me to understand. Have we not all seen a star? Have we not all seen something so many others have seen? Yes, they also saw a star. They saw and they kept on going as before. Others may struggle to understand. So, you saw a star? I saw two, but for you it was a sign? Yes, it was a sign, and more than a sign. It was a beckoning. It was a summons. We knew it was addressed to us personally, to us compellingly. We were struck to the heart. We were grasped in our inner core. None of it made sense to anyone, not even to us. How could we explain it? We have seen his star. That's all the explanation there is. And so we set out like men possessed on a quest, a mad, raging, passionate quest. What do you do with something that catches hold of you like that? The answer came in the fourth stanza of the poem, the Magi. The star made night day when we gave God gold with gifts that he had foretold and went our way. See, that's what you do when you're swept off your feet by a star. You give God gold. You give God gold when you decide to discern your vocation. You give God gold when you decide to be a missionary. You give God gold when you decide to join Regnum Christi. You give God gold when you decide to become a novice, when you decide to become a religious. You give God gold when you agree to be ordained a priest. You give God gold when, despite the temptation to offer something less, something cheaper, you keep on letting God have the first say and the last say and the whole say and the only say about what you will do with your life. The mystery that we're celebrating today in the liturgy is not just calling to mind an event that happened thousands of years ago. It's happening again. It's happening here. We are making it present. And how is that possible? It's possible and it's real because here we are. Here we are. And we are here because we saw a star, the star, and because we gave God gold, and because we are the Magi. Amen? Amen.